What's up? We got some people in here. If anybody wants to come up, we're just hanging out. It's just me. I'm going to invite some people up. Let's see here. What's going on? Got a couple of people on stage. What's going on, guys?
Word. What's up?
Nothing, man. Just hanging out. Thought I'd do a spaces. Don't have a guest or anything, but just thought I'd get people up here and hang out for a little bit. If it turns into something, that's good. If not, that's good too. De La Rosa, what are you doing, man?
Not much, man. Just barely got done eating dinner. Probably gonna call it a night here soon. I gotta wake up pretty dang early in the morning.
Yeah, man. Did you working today?
Yeah, I did. I actually caught two jobs today. Went this morning, set a packer. As soon as I got to the shop, it was probably like not even 30 minutes later. The guys were washing the equipment, and I was doing paperwork. And the boss came. He was like, "Hey, man, you should go grab this other job real quick." And I was like, "Damn, all right." So I'm gonna go catch a job pretty early in the morning tomorrow. Hopefully everything goes good. I'm hoping to be able to call it an early day.
When did you have like the H2S thing go on? Was that today?
Yeah, that actually happened today, dude. We were, like I said, we went to go set a packer. The field that we were in is actually the same field where Antina Ranch is at. So it's very high in CO2 and a lot of other shit. So we were rigging down. We were late the tool string down and everything, and they were I guess bleeding off the well, and it was going into some tank, man. And all of a sudden our just started going off. Like I said, I've never heard mine go off ever. So we just all looked at each other and we just kind of like, what the fuck? So we just put everything down and just.
You guys like wear them on your neck, or is it like one like they're centralized or whatever? Do you have one on?
I actually wear mine on my hard hat, which is the incorrect way to wear it. You're supposed to be wearing it at all times on your chest, like just clipped onto your uniform.
Yeah.
The reason they do that is they want you to be able to hear it. So like if it does like start to travel up and then it gets to your chest, it's before like if I have me having it on my hard hat, well shit, I'm having it in the area where I'm breathing, and I might not be hearing it or whatever. But like I said, we were breaking the string down, started going off, and we just looked at each other. We were just all kind of like, I'm pretty sure we all thought the same thing, like what the fuck. And we just put our wrenches down, just like I said, walked off all nonchalantly, just kind of sped walked off. The floor hands were looking at us like, "Hey man, what are you going? What are you doing?" They were confused. I was like, "Man, our monitors are going off," and even the packer hand or the tool hand, he started walking off with us too, and it's kind of messed up. But they said that theirs were going off like every other day so much that they just tossed them out. And I was like, "Man, screw that, dude."
What? Why would you toss them out?
It's bad. That H2S stuff, the lethal levels of it are pretty low. That's some scary stuff.
Yeah, that's it don't take much. Like I think I forgot how many parts per million is the allowable work limit, and it's only for 15 minutes out of I forget out of how many hours of the day, but you pretty much can't be around it at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like that time weighted average over like an 8 hour day or whatever. It's just like a couple parts per million. So if it's going off, that's scary stuff.
Yeah, I've heard stories, here in the Permian of, dudes working on battery tanks or whatever, cleaning them out, and they get a just like one whiff, and next thing you know, they're dead. They find them, just like, oh shoot, this dude's, died from H2S poisoning.
Damn, man, that's serious. Hey, just FYI, I don't know that I'm going to do anything with this, but I'm on my Roadcaster. I did just hit record when we started talking at the beginning. I don't know that I'll do anything, but I just want to let you know. If anything you just said, you don't want me to. I mean, I may put something out, but I just figured if I'm ever going to do a spaces, I'm going to tell people I'm recording it, I might as well just record it, but just FYI, dude.
That's all good. To my knowledge, Spaces is already recorded anyways.
Yeah, right. I mean, like record it and put it out on the podcast. I just figured like low effort content. Like I did one the other night and like put it out and it did like really well. And I was like, all right, well, maybe I should just like do these randomly. And it was more of like we had a topic and we were going on about it. It was kind of more like a podcast. People came up, but I just figured like if you're going to do it and talk, like why might as well put it out there. If it's like, if it's good, like it's a good conversation, but what on the jobs today? Like, how is it? I mean, like since we talked and did the pod, man, like what is how are things now? Like with prices going up like this, has it been getting crazy?
Yeah, we are really busy. I'm not even supposed to be really going to the field. I'm like supposed to be picking up, spot work that the other guys can't handle. But I've been going out to the field almost every single day this week just to be able to catch jobs, Like yesterday I was supposed to catch 2 jobs, but we were at this location we were at this morning. We were there yesterday. We were having tool issues. Packer he had the wrong attachments and everything built for us to go down hole. And then when we did try to go down hole, we just kept pretty much tagging at surface. So I had to stay out there all day. If I was able to finish that job, I was going to catch another 2 jobs yesterday. So we had another crew that ended up catching 2. We had to have some guy or one of our hands drive down to Houston to pick up a tool that we don't have, just to rent it to be able to run out a job for them tomorrow. But we'll have 4 out of our 6 trucks out tomorrow.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
it's picking up, man. People want to get after it, like prices.
I kind of like the way it's going. Drilling activity is definitely not reflecting the prices. That's for sure. I don't want it to get crazy again, and then all of a sudden everyone's just I know everyone always says more drilling and stuff, but I kind of like how things are going right now, dude. Everyone's making money this way.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't get crazy. Like, I just don't think the money's there. Like, there's like private money. You've got the private guys, but it's like even that. Like, I saw a deal earlier someone posted on Twitter, and it was like, I think it showed like there was like 29 or something private equity groups funding oil and gas projects, and now there's like 9 basically, and since like 2018. And of those, it was like some big number, or whatever, $90 billion before, and now it's like 30 billion or 20 billion or some lower number. I'm getting the numbers wrong on this, but basically it was like there are way less people funding private drilling, and then the public guys, they're just not drilling because like it's all just they're being driven by shareholders, and they want like return cash to dividends, return money to the shareholders, and so like it'll be interesting to see. I just don't know that like the dry powder is there from a capital standpoint to really fill the gap. I think we're going higher, man.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the work that we've been doing too has just been plug and abandonment stuff, or just temporary abandoned. We got some completion work going on, but a majority of it is the production side. We're just kind of or all the wells that we're going to is just stuff that they're maintaining, or just trying to get a little bit more out of it here and there.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know you guys did P&A stuff.
Oh yeah, dude, that's what actually this time last year is what kept me alive. Like COVID crash happened, and let's see, we were on a really big job with 13 wells total we had to finish, and we were on the beginning of it whenever COVID hit. So it took us about 3 months to finish all those wells, and I want to say we finished in like late May, and it was just everything was like dead, dude. My bonuses went from thousands of dollars a month to I would be lucky if I had a $100 to $200 bonus, if not anything at all. But it was weird, just out of nowhere. Like several months later, this time last year, I had a crap load of P&A work, and that's what was sustaining the company for a good while there. We never had to go through any layoffs, surprisingly. He kept us all on.
Good.
We fired people, but we never laid anybody off.
Yeah. By the way, if anybody wants to come up, it's just whatever. We're just hanging out. So hit me up and you can come up and talk. This is just free form. So if anybody wants to contribute or just bullshit, you can. No, the P&A stuff seems like there's going to be more. That's like job security stuff, right? I mean, like there's always going to be plug and abandonment things. I mean, always. How many wells, dude? Thousands, tens of thousands.
Yeah, it's, from everything that Sarah Stogner or Sanfrac talk about, I mean, there's a lot of wells out there that need to be abandoned, or obviously a lot that aren't properly, P&A'd. That it doesn't surprise me, like what's going on over there with her. That field is, like I said, there's a real high concentration of CO2, which was brought on by Chevron, so that stuff is extremely corrosive. Like all the stuff that I was P&A'ing last year, it was just over there in the Monaghan's Wicked area. And there were several wells where they'd be pulling out tubing or pulling out rods where it would just be collapsing in the hole, or sometimes they'd even have to just cut casing and, replace a certain area just to be able to plug and abandon that well.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't know all the details about it. So, like, I've been looking at, like, I got some, like, clients that do a lot of, like, stripper well stuff, and some of them had success doing it, right? And it's like, you look at these packages, and they've been like, hey, if you ever want to, like, buy into some of these wells, and so we've looked at some packages and some individual wells, and it's just like the plug and abandonment liability can get out of control. Like on a bigger, you like see this package and you're like, oh, this looks great. Like it's doing this much gas, this much oil, couple, a bunch of wells you could maybe turn back on. And then you start to run the number on the liability side, and you're just like, man, this has got some serious hair on it. It's no joke. I mean, like, there's a lot of it out there, and so you see a lot of this stuff. But at these prices, man, like, things are still transacting. It's like you look at something, and you're like, man, this looks like a kind of a garbage package of wells, and then someone will buy it for like a surprising price, and you're like, geez. And it's just like, do you think those people are all like actually going to do what they're supposed to do, take care of these, the remediation for these sites, or they're just going to like be a bad actor on it? So like, I don't know.
Yeah. What really surprised me, like you're talking about the prices, when it broke 80, was it last Friday, I believe. I honestly never thought we'd see that again. Last time was 2014, and I was working at Pioneer Wireline right before the 2015 bust. So I think the possibility of seeing 100 is, I think it's going to happen, dude. Like, I'm becoming more and more convinced each day.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, people are showing up in here because I just tweeted this. If anybody wants to come up on stage, come up on stage. It's just us kind of chatting right now, but if anybody wants to come up and talk, they can come up and talk. And by the way, I did hit record on the Roadcaster here. I don't know if I'm going to do anything with it, but we actually are recording it. But hey, man, no, the last time, you're right. Like, the last time it happened, I just got the laughing face emoji from Steak. Look, I got to always be putting content out, all right? Like, it's like a treadmill, so I'm going to record it in case some magic happens, okay? I owe it to putting in the time in. But no, I mean, like, to your point, like the other day I tweeted out, I was like, what year is it? Because it's been like, 7 years. And it was like back when we started our company, oil was like, I joked around, like I've said this on the pod a bunch, but it's like oil was $85 and Steak wants to come up here, I'm gonna add her speaker. Oil was $85 or $90 when we started our company, and I had no kids. And then like in 6 months, oil was like, $30, and I had a kid on the way, and I was like, what am I doing? But so this is like the first time since then that like we've been here, and it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I remember you tweeting that. It was the freaking Jumanji Robin Williams thing.
Yeah, dude. I don't know why that one made me laugh in my head, and then I put it out there.
What tripped me out was there's a few accounts on here, and they're talking about how they never like seen this high of oil prices, or how much it was whenever they did start. And I'm like, man, dude, I can't believe, like, it trips me out to hear how young their tenure is here in the oil and gas industry. Like, mine it's like 10 years sounds like a lot, but in reality, it's not compared to these vets, dude. Like, guys that I work around with that have 30 or 40 years stuff, they've seen multiple, downturns and all that crap. I've experienced 2015 crash and then the COVID crash.
Yeah, I saw that same tweet. I can't remember who it was. It was I'm forgetting his tag, Skywheel or something. The guy that he like talked crap about Bitcoin, and then I sent him some, and then he was nice to me afterwards. But I think that was the guy that tweeted it, or maybe some other people tweeted it too. But they were like, "Yeah, I've never seen oil this high in my whole career," and I was like, "Oh man, I feel old." It's like one of those moments.
Yeah, I want to see it break what it was, and I can't remember if it was 2008 or 2009 where it was 140. I really want to see it break that.
I think it could.
Yeah, like Brax talking about $200 oil. I mean, that would be madness, dude. Like,
yeah,
that would be freaking ridiculous. I want to see it, but I'm wondering, what, like, how busy the market would be if it actually was 150 or 200 a barrel.
I think the drill bit would get going. For people that are here, if anybody wants to come up, raise your hand. Hey, Steak, how did you get it? How are you like in oil Twitter? How did it happen?
I don't know. I just started like interacting with different accounts, and I guess they just accepted me. So.
Yeah, sure. It's just random. It's just like random. I think like you're not the only one though. Like there's other accounts, people that I know that don't even work in the industry, and they're like active oil and gas Twitter people.
Yeah, there's like a couple others.
For sure. Getting some laughing face. Go ahead.
I think those are more of the people that kind of probably came on through FinTwit and everything. Because I always try to go to the bigger accounts like Energy Cynic, and I'll ask Brax, hey man, what's the origins of EFT? Like, explain it to me. And from everything I've gathered, it seems like it's just the oil and gas EFT part is just the birth of from FinTwit.
Well, we're doing a better job of having like I mean, the community is good. Like I was tweeted the other day. I was like, oil and gas Twitter is just like, it's like hit. We're doing great right now. I mean, with all the prices prices pumping. I mean, it's just a fun place to be.
No offense to anybody, but I just think FinTwit is kind of whack. So.
I mean, I've learned the most about the oil and gas industry since I discovered this part of Twitter. And I have this huge fascination now. And I love learning about it. Like prior to finding EFT, I didn't really care about the industry. I didn't hate it or anything, but
Sorry, it cut off. I didn't mean to. Go ahead.
Hey, I just had a question for you guys. I was, you're talking about how it'd be nice to see $200 oil, how everything would go crazy. How fast do you think the industry could ramp things up if, let's say by the end of the year, oil hits 100, 150, whatever, and goes absolutely crazy? Like, what sort of constraints are there? Because my understanding is that a lot of the industry workers have been treated like shit. They need to have a massive hiring. And then along with all the supply chain issues, I don't know if they could even ramp up effectively. Anyway, I got a sleeping baby on me, so I'll cut it off there.
Yeah. I mean, I could ramble on this, but why don't you, De La Rosa, give it from your perspective? Like, what if things just went like crazy right now? Like, what if people just started picking up a ton of rigs? Like, how would that affect you guys?
I think the biggest issue is the labor shortage. Humble is pretty correct on that. And then whatever we do get, it's pretty much just going to be, what you would call a worm. A lot of people is like when it gets real busy like that, the quality of work's going to go down, and they're just trying to hire, just to have bodies, just to be able to move equipment, just to be able to catch jobs and be on location. That's when you start running into a bunch of issues. Like the labor shortage is a big thing, but also the lack of talent, because you have all these guys that have been doing this, say, for so many years. And like 2015, you have a bunch of guys that, hey, I'm done now because I'm tired of the roller coaster. Now, now with the COVID crash, you have even more. They're just, hey, I'm not going to go through this bullshit again. I'm fucking done, whatever, like that. So definitely the labor is a huge deal, and the level of talent.
Yep. We got some more speakers. Just FYI, I hit record on this. I don't know if I'm going to do anything with it. I might put it on the podcast, but just want to give everybody the heads up. Anytime I'm doing a Spaces, I just decided I'm going to record it in case I want to put it on the pod, but just want to let everybody know. But anybody else that came up and want to speak or whatever on this topic or whatever, just FYI. Didn't mean to scare y'all, but just telling you what's up. I guess I can get go ahead.
Yeah, just speaking as somebody who's been out here working in the field for the last since February when stuff started picking back up again. The company that I work for, we can't keep hands. We've hired probably 200 people and maybe 80 have stayed. So we're working 60-day hitches and everybody's worn out. So if we start ramping up, add more and more and more rigs, there's just not the people to work them.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, I just done. So do you think guys just left the industry, or where did the people that were there go? I mean, it's just one of those deals where I'm guessing it gets to that point. I mean, I know people in the corporate world that are just over the last 10 years, guys that were very, very just doing well, great careers, great trajectories, just completely exiting the industry. No plan of coming back. Is it kind of like that? Guys are just gone, or what?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I think a lot of people are just worn out from it. But a lot of it, when COVID hit, a lot of people cut their prices just to stay working and laid everybody off. But when everybody came back to work, people aren't getting the money that they were making. And so, like with me, I'm out here, I'll work for 60 days. And when I come home for 2 weeks, all that money that I made in 2 months is gone when I go back to work.
Jeez.
Yeah, prices definitely aren't there on our side either.
So
we're still pretty much in the same price range as, like our stage prices on the frac jobs and everything. We're pretty much in the same area as we were whenever COVID hit.
I got a service business too, and I'm feeling it. I mean, it's hard to raise prices. It's I joked and I said I wish there was a good meme, and to express the feeling of all my producer clients being hey, we need you to cut your rates, and you're but don't worry, when things come back, you can raise them back. And so you cut your rates and you lose all this revenue. And then like as soon as prices go back up, they all like sell their company to someone else and they have like another service provider that they use and they're not going to use you anymore. Like that's like what we do. It's like cool. It's like we cut our rates and then you sold your company and now, or like got merged or whatever. And then now you were going to go with someone else. But it's like, I don't know if there's a good meme for that, but it just feels like how, at least in our business, like we've seen some of that, right? It's like we had to cut all these rates and then it's like almost impossible to raise rates again.
Yeah, you got people that'll come in too, like startups or whatever, and they'll come in and they'll just underbid a lot of people. There's a company here in the Permian. They're also, I think, was in the Bakken and then possibly Colorado too. Perfect's Wireline. Man, they'll come in and they'll do exactly what we're doing for almost half of the price. But they're not a mom and pop like us. They're corporate, and there's a huge consolidation going on. So you have one big company called Ranger came in and they bought out Perfect, Patriot, and Mallard. So now you're going to have 4 wireline companies into one. But they're going to keep the Perfect name because they're so well established. But man, when you come in and you underbid everyone like that, and you're able to do a pretty damn good job, it's hard to compete with things like that.
Yeah, for sure. A couple other people just hopped in. Just FYI, I'm recording this. I don't know if I'm going to put it on the pod or not, but I'm just letting everybody know. Anybody else? What's anybody else got? What do you want to talk about?
For guys out in the field like DLR and T-Schmel, I'm just curious if you guys are seeing any lead time issues on pipe and all this raw material stuff you guys have to work with. I keep seeing lots of posts about metal pieces and parts that are made in China, just with big long lead times now. Just curious if you're seeing any of that.
Yeah, we're seeing issues on delivery with material, especially our gun carriers and everything. I mean, that's all steel right there alone.
I'm hearing of it anecdotally. I'm hearing guys that are just trying to get after it, and then they're just getting basically told that it's going to take a lot longer, and it's everything really. Like we're hearing again, because like all of our clients are producers, and we're helping them on the production side, midstream side, getting things to sales or new wells to sales or existing wells, whatever it may be on the midstream stuff. And it seems like almost everything is just backed up, slow.
It just feels like even if things go to 120, like I don't know if there's going to be response, because I don't know, between labor and hardware, if you can respond to that.
Short term,
are you guys seeing production?
Go ahead.
Are you guys able to see the rig counts rise visibly? Like when you guys are driving around the Permian, are you seeing much more traffic on the roads and the rest of that?
Yes, 100% on the roads. Traffic is starting to get pretty bad again. A lot of reckless driving. I'm trying to think where I was going the other day. Damn it. Can't remember exactly where I was at, but I was surprised to see that many rigs there in that area. I was like, man, it's definitely picking up. Going down I-20, tons of freaking rigs for an E&P company called Deep Rock, and then just going down 158 too. It's badass to see, but shit like that worries me, because I was like, man, like I said earlier, we always say, more drilling, but I don't want it to get to the point to where we work ourselves out of a job again just from flooding the market.
Yeah. All right. What I'm concerned about is if OPEC opens up floodgates again. And
so far, I really enjoyed their responses to the Biden administration. They're pretty much just telling them, to kick rocks. So I hope they continue, in that route.
Anybody worried about OPEC? You really should go read Josh Young's paper. I completely concur with it. Every time the Saudis have pumped over 10 million barrels a day, their stocks have gone down precipitously. So I don't think there's as much there as guys like Art Berman are trying to sell to you guys.
Yeah, I would just echo that point. I'm kind of new to the space, but from the data I've seen historically from OPEC and Josh Young's article, it seems like they have a big geopolitical interest in demonstrating that they have more capacity than they actually do. Twilight in the Desert's also a good book to read on that. a little extreme, but
Could you send me the article if somebody doesn't mind? DM it to me or the link. Thanks.
yeah, I think if you search Seeking Alpha, Josh Young, myth of OPEC spare capacity, you should find it.
Gotcha. Thanks.
I don't think OPEC's going to do. I think that I've been saying this for a while now. The game theory to me just feels like OPEC is even before like before the 2014 crash. I just felt like even then people kept being like, oh, OPEC's going to do something. And they eventually did. And it was kind of like Russia, there was the OPEC plus stuff. And it's like, the market share got crazy in the U.S. Like we really did start pumping just in a ton of barrels. But I've always, since the beginning of my career, scratched my head because it's like it costs money to produce, right? So it's like if the price drops, 50% or 60% or whatever it is, you still got to pay money to produce those barrels. And so it's like, would you rather produce barrels at a 50% higher price and just have like a marginally less production? Because if you look at these like incremental increases that they're trying to put up, it's not like they're insane from a percentage standpoint of the world oil. It's like they're just bumping it up. And it's like, should I bump it up like this? Or should I just like, it's like we could bump production 10% or we could have a 30% higher price. And game theory says like you'd have a 30% higher price unless you think that, the prisoner's dilemma, it's like, what's the U.S. going to do? And in the past, the U.S. was going to do what was best for them, and they were going to pump more, and so that's why they had the the supply war. But now it's like I look at it, and I just don't see any incentive really. And this excuse of like, oh, it's going to accelerate the energy transition. I'm like, no, it's not. No, it's not. Like that, like the price of oil is going to have very little to do with the energy transition. So my bias is that OPEC's going to let it run. I don't know why they wouldn't. They have a finite amount of resources that are only going to last for so long. Even if it's 100 years, whatever, pick the amount of years. They've got a finite amount of resources. If you have a finite amount, you want to sell those at the highest possible price. I don't, especially coming out of this like huge global recession, whatever it is, the COVID thing, like everybody's struggling. Why would they not try to maximize the value that they can get in the short term? I see no benefit to them trying to push oil back down to $50. Like this is just stupid. I don't see that at all, but I could be wrong. I'm wrong a lot, but that's just my take.
Most of their budgets require $70 to $75 oil to break even. So, I mean, they've gotten crushed the last few years too.
Exactly. So I think they'd want to keep oil around 80. I don't think nobody wants oil down by 50. But the thing is, if it goes above 100, then there's other knock-on effects on the economy. You see general slowdown in inflation all across the board. Moreover, everybody else starts coming into the market. So the twofold thing is keep competition down and also keep their budget surplus running, and that they can maintain around 80 to 90. They wouldn't want oil to hit 120, at least in my opinion. I don't know if I'm absolutely right there.
Yeah, but the spot market may be at 80 or 81 or wherever it's at, but your forward looking months are still in the 60s, right? I mean, I haven't looked at it today, but if you're looking at $65 oil 3 months, 6 months ahead, then like what's the benefit of an $80 spot price right now?
Yeah, I think it's backward.
Say that again, please.
I have a feeling that backwardation is gonna start to level out.
Yeah.
People aren't thinking about it this way. Look at what management is going to be motivated to do. Most of their contracts now have been turned away from production growth, and they make more money when shareholders get return. So if you're in management, what is your goal going to be? Do you want to grow production, or do you want to get shareholder returns? The best way to get shareholder returns is to grow very slowly and keep the price high.
Yeah, I don't see a lot of risk from domestically. Yeah, I just don't think that, again, we talked about it earlier, I just don't see it coming from the U.S., at least in the near term. A lot of different factors. And I think it would be naive to think that the supply chain constraints and that the other constraints that we just talked about, the workforce, all that other stuff, I think it would be naive to think that doesn't apply to these OPEC countries. Like everybody's been hit by COVID. Everybody has been, by COVID, by the lockdowns that governments did in response to COVID. Let's be fair. And then all supply chain is hit by that. So to say that like just the U.S., we talk for 20 minutes about how hard it is to bring back production online. That then be like, but OPEC, they can just increase it by X million amount of barrels. It's like I think it applies to them too in some degree, and so I just don't see it in the near term.
All you have to do is look at what OPEC's production has been the last 3 months. They haven't made their quota.
Right.
So, I mean, where's all this spare capacity if it's there? And their version of spare capacity is you're supposed to be able to bring that on within 30 days. Well, it's been at least 90 days since they began increasing the quota, but they haven't made the quota in any of those 3 months.
Right. It's a good point. It's a good point. It's like, are they doing it on purpose, or is it just because, they're struggling? I don't know. Probably a combination of both. I think they're doing it somewhat on purpose. I think that I just don't see the incentive for them to do a big production jump. I mean, even go ahead.
Well, but you got to keep in mind, OPEC's a bunch of individual member countries, and if a member country like Russia or Saudi or whoever has a production cap that's higher than their current production, there's no incentive for them to hold it back if everyone's agreed to allow them to produce another, X number of million barrels per day. I mean, to me, I think the fact that you have a bunch of OPEC nations not producing what OPEC has allowed them to produce, speaks volumes as to the myth of the OPEC spare capacity theory. I mean, that's why I'm bullish on oil long term, is because I think someday, everyone's going to kind of wake up and realize that, OPEC can't really pump anymore. And then that's where shit really goes bananas. But that's my outlook, and that's just based on the research I've done.
Yeah, I mean it makes sense to me. And the other thing is people don't realize there's been a ton of inflation since the last time oil was at whatever $140. To get back to the same level, it's not 140 anymore. It's quite a bit more. So it's we keep talking about $100 oil, $120 oil. I don't know what the inflation adjusted is, but it's more than 140 to get back to all-time highs. And I don't think that there's been a more bullish scenario than there is right now to get to an all-time high. And so if you look at the inflation adjusted all-time high, it's a high price per barrel. And the other thing is markets aren't rational. It's look at, we saw negative oil prices. How crazy would it be to see a negative oil price and within the span of 24 or 36 months to see an all-time high? That's a volatile and crazy market, but I wouldn't count it out.
See, but that again comes down to the storage capacities, right? If all the storage tanks are full and the production has to go somewhere and there's no one to buy it, then they can go negative again. That's what pushed the negative last time. So yeah, it's not impossible. Considering if everybody ramps up and there's nowhere to slow down, no way, sorry.
Absolutely. So we have to talk about.
Go ahead.
With
the Chinese and the U.S. now tapping in the SPRs, there should be quite a bit of space for a couple of countries to put some away.
Yeah, no joke. We got a couple more people up here. What's going on? Davis, I saw you hop up. People hop up. If y'all want to contribute, go for it.
What up, guys? Sorry, I was dodging the rain out here. I was just piggybacking off some of this last stuff. Is, when oil price went negative, you would think that would have been a once in a lifetime opportunity for nation states and countries to build their SPRs at a faster rate and get paid for them on the front. Isn't really.
You're chopping
up. Can you
up.
guys hear him, or is it just me?
No, it's chopping up. Davis, you there?
Hey. I'll step on Davis here for a little bit because we're pals, and he can chime. He can interrupt me whenever he's ready. So at what point supply chain issues aren't just they're not exclusive. They're not to it's not just us, right? It's not just my 4-inch by 4-inch stainless steel tee that I'm having a hard time to bring on another oil well, right? It's all over. It's all over the world with everything. It's the auto industry that's been screaming the loudest about it. But at what point do those woes and the inflation and the just causing the destruction of the economy? I mean, that slows people down on spending money, and I mean that has effects in the economy. At what point does that, if it doesn't improve, and at some point it will, if it's 3 weeks from now or if it's 2 years from now, it's going to improve. But like if it doesn't improve on the near term, then it's going to have more negative effects on the economy, and does that cause some recessionary type consequences or what? I mean that could be what slows all this whole thing down, right?
There's a lot of weird shit going on. I mean, to be honest, like, it's like we're talking about, hey, like the supply chain. You're making a good point. It's like the supply chain stuff's going to disrupt new supply of oil and gas, but it's like it's also going to could disrupt demand, right? It's like the crazy thing is just like something local. It's like the amount of people that want to buy new cars and hearing about people on wait lists for huge amounts of time. It's like, oh yeah, I just got a like I'm waiting to get a new car and I'm on this big wait list. So in terms of like demand delays, I think that's a valid point, but I think there's pent up demand. So I don't know. There's some yin and yang there in terms of like supply is going to be backed up, but like demand is going to be backed up because of the supply chain crunches. But I think the supply chain stuff freaks me out maybe more than anything that's going on since COVID started. Just because it's like weird, we've grown up in this world where we can just get anything we want anytime we want it. And that's not happening right now, and it's just a shock to the system.
And at some point, capitalism wins, right? Like we at some point we're just on the other end of this, and it's a free for all.
Yeah. So like my husband owns a pool service company, and he's noticing the effects of supply chain issues. Like he's actually going to shutter his company because it's just too much of a headache to get filters and basic like chlorine tabs for people's pools. And he's telling me that pool heaters are 2 years out right now.
Jeez. 2 years.
It's insane.
This is what happens when the world is beholden to
China,
a planned economy in Asia for pretty much everything.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, China.
It's like, just in time supply chain stuff. That all sounds really good. And you can make more money when you do just in time supply chain. But when you're doing just in time supply chain and there's, you've set everything up like that, right? To where like everything's supposed to get there just when you need it. And then like they can't get there just when you need it, then you don't have a business.
Exactly. So like you can't just like sit on your hands and expect, to make money when you can't make money because you can't get material.
Exactly.
So just to go back to the demand destruction on, oil price going high. I saw an article a while back. Basically, when oil goes around, I want to say it's like $110, $117 per barrel. That's where you start to see it associated pretty closely with recessions. So just something to keep in mind now. The 70s, we had a bunch of recessions and oil was going crazy the whole time, but just something to keep an eye out on.
Yeah, recession's the thing. They're just going to print more money if it happens.
Okay.
Go ahead.
One thing I've been looking at with the history and those recessionary types of increase in energy price is, do we not think that has more of a reflection of something to do with policy change and the interconnectedness of our markets? Because you can't change the price of natural gas or oil without changing feed gas price and fertilizer and potash and all of these stuff that feeds meat, which makes cow and poultry more expensive by offset. I mean, besides the fact that you also have the shipping container crisis going, which is unrelated to the current process, but does not help. So when all of those go up at the same time, when you're expecting forecasts to go down over a certain period of time of GDP going up, it would just wreck people's analyst forecasts, which would change into a negative effect that would, eat at the market.
Yeah. I mean, like, back to the energy thing, and I've said, I think there's a lot of inflationary trends. I know there's guys on Twitter that I actually like some of their takes, but that are, saying things are going to get highly deflationary. And I've read some books, like Jeff Booth's book recently, Price of Tomorrow. He's arguing that things are going to get in a deflationary spiral because of technology. And there's a couple guys on LinkedIn that post all the deflationary stuff. But if energy is going up in price, then there's not going to be, it's going to be very difficult for deflation to happen, because energy is everything. Oil and gas specifically is like 90, I read a thing, it's like 90% of what you interact with every day. Oil and gas, the products you use, the energy that you use, this world that we think is going to happen where the oil and gas just isn't there. It's a scary world, number one, because everything's made of it. So people that are like, we want to eliminate fossil fuels, it's like, well, you want to eliminate everything that we use, because it's like 90% of what we use. So it's just kind of like a fantasy that's not real. And so it gets back to like what we're talking about around supply, and it's just like anytime there's this crunch or this increase in price, like everything's going to increase in price, pretty much.
So Max, a couple of points. You talked about inflation versus deflation. There's a study, I believe it was out of Colombia, that basically looked at the best performing asset sectors during inflationary periods. And, I know a lot of people go back to the 70s and, they say, oh, well, you got to buy gold or commodities or what have you. Oil equities have actually been by far the best performers during inflationary periods historically. That, and it's the only commodity that you use that really can't be recycled at all. Think about any sort of fossil fuel versus steel or copper, or, you name it, but pretty much every other commodity can be recycled in some sort of manner. So things to consider. Everyone has different outlooks and things like that, but that's part of that, and a few other factors are why personally I've gone really hard into the energy space in my personal investments. Obviously not investment advice or anything, but just thought people would appreciate that little tidbit.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, everything I've been thinking about since COVID hit has been how to protect against inflation. As soon as they started doing the stimulus and the printing, that's like been where my head's at. Like real estate is like what I've got. I put a bunch of personal chips on the table on the real estate side, just hard assets, right? Like they can't be replaced, or like you use the word recycled, which is good for like, you can apply that to commodities and to like product or to raw materials, raw inputs. But, really just how do you kind of short the dollar or short currencies? And it's like, debt underpinned by hard assets, like really low rates like this, it encourages debt because you make money on debt, because debt, like, if you get a 30-year note on something, like you're never going to pay that. I said that the other day. I was like, you're never going to pay that back. And someone was like, no, that's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous statement. And I was like, you're going to pay it back, but you're going to pay back something that's worth far, far less than what you borrowed, because in 30 years with the amount they're printing, I mean, they've printed 40% of every dollar ever in existence was printed in the last 24 months. So energy too, it's like, right? Like it's this base input for everything. You have to have it. There's just no getting around it. You can't, produce iPhones, computers, Teslas have, 800, 700 pounds of plastic, whatever it is in each one. Like you can't produce anything without oil and gas, pretty much. I mean, I'm sure there's some things, but so it's just like that's an inflationary hedge. But I'm not like a big equities guy. The one thing I would say on like oil and gas equities is they're not all created equal, and you really have to look into a lot of factors. I mean, decline rates, like inventory, there's just so much involved with picking the winners here. And there's a lot of smart people on EFT that can point you to who those winners are. I'm just not that guy. Like I'm more into like private businesses. Like I like investing in things that I can control, and that I just like entrepreneurship stuff. But there are some very smart equities people like Josh Young, the stuff he does. He got brought up earlier. He's great. Like, I love his takes, and people can give you really good takes on individual stocks. But I don't think it's a bad space to play at all.
I'll use that opportunity to plug your latest podcast with Sam.
Yeah,
Everybody
dude.
should listen to it.
Yeah, dude. Sorry the audio was messed up on that. Everybody's giving me shit. My post-production guy messed it up. But yeah, she's amazing. You can hear her great. I'm really quiet, but she's great, man. She just does so much good stuff. But yeah, what was your takeaway?
I mean, I've really been kind of digging into Canadian names for a few months now, so it wasn't anything really surprising to me. I kind of was aware of that stuff, but there's so many people investing in energy that don't realize the opportunities in Canada right now, and the balance sheets on the whole are just way more attractive than the US E&P, in general.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, she educated me. Like, that's why I wanted to have her on. I knew she was smart, and I knew that she could drop knowledge on Canada, which I have very little experience looking, especially on the equity side. So she did some good stuff, but on that episode, so check it out. But what else we got here? Who else wants to either come up and talk or ask questions or whatever? GW, you're up here. You haven't said anything. Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to hear from GW.
Oh, okay. Well, in other news, supply chain difficulties, and this does tie into oil and gas slightly. Actually, in the textiles world, which I've been, thanks to Twitter, becoming more and more involved in, is causing problems because I've ordered quite a few pieces of some rather common fabrics like cotton twills. I can't get them. I'm facing 6-week lead times that ordinarily are 2 weeks, and it's nuts. Other than that, I don't know, Max. I'm just here listening. And my funny quip towards you, Max, is if you think we're watching the podcast with Sem for you, I'm sorry. You're mistaken.
Yeah, we can hear her just fine.
I'm having problems getting my cotton twills too, or whatever you just said. Cotton quill. I don't even know what that is. But I'm also
twill. It's okay. So Max, take a dress shirt you own, rub it between your fingers. That texture is a cotton twill. It's the way the fabric is bound, not bound, weaved. And it's extremely common. It's in most dress shirts and such, and it's facing ridiculous lead times. Like I said, ordinarily it's 2 weeks for shirts I order. Now I'm getting quoted between 4 and 6 weeks, which is absurd.
Yeah, that's crazy. But back to that episode with Sim, I mean, like, it was really good. The Canada stuff is, it's interesting. Like, for so many years, like, especially like the constraint side around Canada, like the takeaways, I just felt like that was always the narrative, was that there was just no takeaway. Obviously see the Keystone XL thing in the news, but she kind of shed some light on some things that are going on that maybe could alleviate that. But it's a positive episode. I'm not gonna lie, that was one of my more popular episodes. I don't know. Everybody wanted to tune in on YouTube for that one. I can't figure it out, but I've usually they just listen, but I have a ton of views.
Max, if I have to explain to you why you received a higher watchship for that episode than others, then you're missing something, my friend.
Yeah, man, I can probably figure it out. No, it was a popular episode.
Good. Proud of you.
What else we got?
Hey, I'm going to jump in one more time. So my biggest supply chain issue, and I hate that we're harping on this one thing so bad, but it is such a fantastic issue, is 30-inch bag filters for water. So that kind of ties into what both GW and Steak were talking about. I mean, it is a fabric. It's a plastic fabric that these filters are woven in, and every time I've talked to our suppliers, we've got one out of like Omaha, Nebraska, and one out of Odessa, and they're both retailers, so they're buying. For all I know, they may be buying from the same wholesaler, and it's 10 weeks out. Every week I call, it's 10 weeks out, which means nobody knows, right?
And likely they are buying from the same supplier, because what most people don't realize is when it comes to fabrics, there's only a handful of mills or factories that produce each fabric. So like most like tweeds you wear, most of those are woven in places like Scotland, and those are the only mills that do it because they're the only ones that know how to do it well. And people just won't buy the off-brand because it's simply not as good. And then when you get more specialized with rubberized or plasticized fabrics, that's a ball game all its own.
Yeah, it's everywhere. There's a great episode. So a plug for a friend of mine, Marty Bent, has a great podcast. It's Bitcoin focused, but he talks about the economy. He talks about a bunch of different stuff. He, I think it was like 2 guests ago, had a supply chain guy. And I think it was like last week's guest of his main series. The guest was called, just pulling up real quick. It was supply chain problems. Let's see who the guest was. Ross Kennedy, episode 273. And he basically breaks it down, what's going on at these shipping ports. And it's an interesting one to listen to because it doesn't sound like there's really any easy. He describes it as like basically a traffic jam, right? Like the COVID was the car at the beginning of the 10-mile line of cars that were bumper to bumper that slammed on its car, and that was COVID, slammed to a complete stop. And then just because that first car like accelerated to back to 75 or whatever on the highway, it's going to take a long time for the cars in the very far back to be able to get back to speed again. And then even when they can, you know how traffic jams are, it ebbs and flows. So just because like it'll speed up for a while, it'll slow down again. It'll speed up and it'll slow down again. And that's like supply chain. And it's like all these, shipping containers that are stuck. And then once you get the shipping containers off, you've got these drivers that can't, there's a driver shortage. And then you've got all this like stuff in like California in these ports where it's like if you have a contact trace, well, now you're out for 14 days. It's like even if you don't have COVID, you get contact traced in some of these blue states, like you're done. Like you can't work. And so it's like it's a ripple effect. And I don't know that there's any like one easy answer. And again, it gets back to this whole thing of it's kind of scary, like being in this time period where you can get whatever you want at the click of a button in like 2 or 1 days to your house. And then now you can't. And then you realize that we've kind of been lulled into this state of dependence on just this instant access. And so as that ripples into the oil and gas markets, like it's a real thing. Like it's affecting people. But anyways, yeah, it's a good episode. You should check that out. What else we got?
Yeah, I feel almost like the only way out of this is a recession. Like the only way you're going to stop this issue is to slow down demand. You think people don't really realize or think about it. All those ships that are sitting there waiting to be offloaded, they're all booked already to come back again. And as long as they're sitting there, all those things that you want shipped from China, that's all getting backed up because those ships are supposed to be already back there bringing more.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's like a continual deal. It gets back to that just-in-time inventory stuff, right? Like it's like no one wants to hold inventory anymore because you don't have to. We had it down to a science where you could get everything whenever you wanted, whether that was the raw materials or whether that was the finished products. And so if you're Ashley Furniture and you have this huge warehouse, it's usually full of everything that anybody wants. And if someone wants something custom, they can order it and, they can make it in China and it takes 30 days and then they can ship it here in, a week or 2 or however long they can do it. And then it can go from there and it takes another couple of weeks to get to a distribution center and you can have it to your house in less than 2 months, even on a custom order. It's not happening. That's not going to happen. It's going to take you, 9 months to get that custom order or longer. And then now even the stuff that they usually just have like off the shelf, that's not there either. So it's causing some problems. I don't know about the recession thing. It's like the problem with the recession is that what are they going to do? They're going to print more money and they're going to dump more liquidity in. Right? Like they don't raise rates during recessions. They lower them. They print more money. So I don't know that a recession, that could exacerbate it, honestly, in some ways. Like what happens during a recession? They start giving out more stimulus checks that people are going to go buy Sea-Doos they can't afford with. And now there's a run on Sea-Doos like there is right now. I've heard from people that are trying to get one. I mean, I don't know. It's a weird time.
Yeah.
Hey, Max, when was the last time that you saw a high interest rate? I mean, in 40 years, are we going to look back on this? And maybe I'm alive in 40 years, maybe I'm not. But are we going to look back on this and go, the recession started in 2008 and it lasted until, 2024. Like, when's the last time you've seen a high interest rate? It's just been, money machine goes burr, right? Printer goes burr.
Yeah, like I feel like interest rates have been ridiculously low, and I feel like they've been too low too long. I mean, that's great for the average consumer, but you're also seeing, household debt skyrocket because of it.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's beneficial to the consumer, so on a micro scale, but on a macroeconomic scale, it's harming the economic system long term. I overheard a discussion the other day with some people I know. They were saying, well, why should I spend $20,000 outright to buy my new roof? Or I could just do a 30-year mortgage on it and put that money into the market and just pay this minuscule fee for 30 years on the roof. I'm sorry, it was a 15-year mortgage. And the fact that that's a discussion is shocking.
Yeah, I don't know the last time I've seen it. I mean, like, so right before, it was like end of early 2020. It was crazy because like we have this business where we clear a lot of revenue through on our marketing business, and we never thought of that as an income source, right? Because we have like these accounts, these operating accounts, and we clear revenue through them. And, there's like millions of dollars of revenue going through these accounts, and we just were never like, oh, we could monetize that, because it's just like it's a clearing, like we're just clearing the revenue. And then rates went up, and not a lot. Like they went up like, to where like our bank came to us and they're like, hey, we got this new thing. We can like give you guys 2% on the money that's clearing through this account. We're like, oh my gosh, like that's crazy. Cause it's like, it was a lot of money. It's like millions of dollars. And we were like, that's an actual income stream from this. And that lasted for all of like 3 months. And we're like, oh, that's so cool. We're getting 2% on this like operating account. And then, COVID hit and rates went to basically negative. So it's just been I haven't seen it. I know I've talked about it with like Hike. He's listening. Talked about other times, like when he went to go buy a car when he was young, rates were way higher. But in my adult life, very low. Go ahead.
What do you mean, go ahead? Also, you're not living to 40 more years, bud. I'm gonna tell you that right now, okay? You're just not. Well,
I'm not living 40 more years. Clown has joined us.
I'm not.
You said I'm not living. You can go iron your shirt somewhere else, big man. Okay, kid, go on.
Go do what now? I'm not going to live for 40 more years.
No, also you will probably because you're fit as a fiddle. But I'm telling you right now that. Well, sorry, I fucked it all up, didn't I? WTX. Well, yeah. Okay, that's why Steak was laughing.
Perfect.
Yeah, I did, didn't it? Yeah, I done it. All I heard was your voice. I'm sitting here like putting up food, and all I heard was a voice, and made a comment. And,
toxic.
Yeah, I guess so. What are you gonna do?
I was just trying to understand. I just like didn't understand the comment. I want to respond to it, but like I didn't know what you were trying to say.
The last person who had the balls to raise interest rates crazy high was probably Paul Volcker.
Right.
Was, late 79. It's a very low probability we'll get another person to actually do that again.
I don't know if it's possible at this point, to be honest.
It sounds like you're in the shower, Davis. It's raining so hard.
It's raining really hard over here. Dogs are barking inside, so I figured this would be better, but it's not.
You guys, I don't know, Doc's where you're at, but I don't know where you guys are at, but last night it rained crazy. We had like a tornado siren go off, which sleds you were keen to point out. You were like all over it. Are you like a meteorologist and you're, and like, is that like your pastime thing that you do?
I've been insomniac, man. I was just awake, watching my man Damon Wayne. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think Davis and I are both in the same area-ish.
It's unfortunate.
GFW.
Yeah.
We had the rain earlier today because I'm way up
like
north.
A bastard up here.
We've been having rain up in the Great Lakes region recently.
All right, yeah, congrats. We got more people coming up. What do y'all want to talk about? What do you got?
Let's talk about your wrestling career, Max.
Oh, wrestling. I was, I did it for a while. I was good for a minute, and then I started partying in high school, and then I wasn't as good. I didn't want to cut weight. Didn't like cutting weight, and then then I stopped.
Everybody who wrestled in high school partied in high school too, bud.
So my ex wrestled in high school, and he told me about like he would basically starve himself all week just to cut weight, and it would like gorge out.
Sleds, have you heard of muting your mic while you're dealing with tinfoil? Because I assure you, no one wants to hear that god-awful noise.
Yeah, it's better than your voice, though, isn't it?
I could arguably say the same to you. If I wanted to hear a lumberjack, I would watch cartoons.
Whatever you say, Grandma.
I need to like start posting videos of me wrestling like Frack Slap. Like he like gets like his takes his highlights and like puts them out there and like puts commentary to it on Twitter.
But Max, here's what people don't realize, right? It's like you wrestle at a high school that's like just perennial all-state and all-Americans, like guys who wrestle in the Olympics, right? Like you're rolling every day from 3:15 p.m. to 6:30 with guys that are literally in the Olympics, right?
Yeah, I showed up and it was
Bitcoin
like,
bro.
Yeah,
Isn't that what you are now? You're just a Bitcoin bro.
pretty much. Bitcoins and oil and gas are like they're going to be like the same thing here pretty soon if they're not already getting there. But no, dude, I showed up to our high school and it was like Tion Ware never lost a match. He was my weight.
That's right, baby.
Never lost a match. Went on to win 2 national championships or 3 national championships. How many did you win? 2 at OU?
Yeah.
I don't know, but he was good, dude. And he was my weight, and he was like, it's not fun. It's not fun. He was like a ghost. The guy was like a ghost. You couldn't touch him.
You and him being the same weight is preposterous, by the way.
Yeah, he's ridiculous.
That doesn't make any sense.
No, he was my.
Question for,
yeah, go ahead.
It may be a dumb one, but I really don't understand stuff. So how well does a natural gas increase in price benefit for you guys that are out there mining stuff?
If you're, you said mining, is that what you said?
Yeah, like if you know how natural gas prices have just been fucking just skyrocketing and stuff. Like if it continues in the same trend, like what does it mean for y'all?
Well, if you're mining, it's not. It depends on the contract of how you're buying the gas. So like, for me, like so, we got a business where we market gas. We help producers buy and sell gas, and in that business, we take like a. Our fee is like a percentage, so it's really good in that business because like a higher price directly correlates to higher revenue. And Bitcoin mining, if you're buying gas at market price, it's not good. And I know some guys that are like full send right now, Bitcoin mining in the oil field, and they are just buying it at a market price. And so it's expensive energy when it's high. And I say expensive like relatively because you could buy it from the grid and pay whatever, Texas 3 cents or less maybe if you're huge like Riot. But, for the most part, guys, if you're buying gas, you're subjected to those swings. So it's actually not a positive when gas goes up. If you're like mining with like flared gas or wasted gas or really just, it depends on the contract of how you're compensating the producer for the gas. And if it's tied to something that's not the market price, then you're probably fine. But if you're buying it at market price, this is not a positive for you. The good thing is that Bitcoin is like 10% away from its all-time high, and it's going to blast through it here soon. And so I think they're going to be all right. But that doesn't mean there couldn't be like a bear market at some point, and it could drop. And so like, I don't think it's a positive for Bitcoin mining to have higher gas prices. And it's weird because I'm like conflicted because we're like looking at a bunch of mining projects, but at the same time we are we sell natural gas and make a percentage of it. So it's like a strange conflict where typically all I care about is it being as high as I want. I want it to be higher basically. What else we got?
Bitcoin. Let's talk more about Bitcoin.
Sure, dude. I just bought a couple I just bought a couple Watts miners. I'm going to plug them in my house. I mean, I'm getting a 240 drop at my house tomorrow, and so I have the ability to plug them both in. I don't know how loud they're going to be because
your problem. You don't office there, do you? Big man.
So that's going on, and it's we'll see. It's a good call. Go ahead.
So like, have you had issues like finding GPUs in order to like mine?
I mean, like, there's been less of a run on I guess when you're saying GPUs, you mean like the ASICs, like the machines, like the miners, right?
Well, like the 3070s, the GTX 3070s from NVIDIA.
Well, you're not using those anymore. Like I don't know what mines.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean that's like now you can't mine with GPU. You're mining with like specifically ASICs. So since like 2016 or so, like they make like computers that are that's all they do. It's just hash SHA-256. So you got to buy these specific computers that's all they do because they're way more powerful.
Okay, so like because people are like, because like because I'm a big PC gamer, and I have a rig with a 3070, and people are like, oh, you should do Bitcoin mining with that, and I was like, no, I don't want my electricity bill to go through the fuck roof. But yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, you wouldn't make any Bitcoin. I don't know if there's other cryptocurrencies. That you could mine. I don't pay attention.
Right.
To
well, I don't
else.
want to destroy my rig with mining. So.
No, you got to just game. You just game with that.
Exactly.
What else we got? We got KP in here. You want to come up here, Kyle? What are you doing? This is kind of like free form. No pressure though. You're probably like feeding a goat right now. You can respond with emojis if you don't want to talk. By the way,
bring him up. I want to talk shit to him.
It just gets
GW,
more.
What kind of iron do you have, bud?
More and more degenerate.
I don't know. I
You got an ironing board?
inherited my iron.
Jesus Christ.
I do have
Be
an
quiet.
ironing board.
Be quiet.
Oh my god. The lumberjack is trying to give me orders again.
Yeah, we're getting less and less oil and gas, which is fine. I think this has been a good speakeasy. Sleds, when are we gonna go to? You were like trying to figure out my lunch spots. What are we
where are you
doing?
going to lunch at, man?
I can't tell you. It's a secret. People were asking me to dox my lunch spot today after that tweet, and I was like, I'm not doxing myself there.
I bet I'll go to one of like 4 places and you're going to be there. So it doesn't matter. Just give me 4 days in a row and I'll find you.
Yeah. It's pretty
I don't
low.
care when you want to go. We can go whenever.
I'm down. I DM'd you the other day to hang out, or not the other day, like a month ago, and you ghosted me on it. So let's do it.
Yeah, my account got deleted by Twitter, so you're welcome.
Are you back? What did you do?
Oh, how unfortunate.
I'm back, baby. Do you recognize my voice or no?
Maybe. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Possibly. You're so cryptic, dude. So cryptic.
Matt, he's the least cryptic thing
No,
here.
he's cryptic because we know each other from growing up, and he's always just like teasing me, but then he won't tell me who he is, and like we've never met in person. So like,
Max, I got a question for you. What's going on with the oil fracking in the Dakotas? You know, like in Williston, North Dakota, South Dakota, what have you? What's happening there with that oil?
With the oil, or with the fracking,
or just because back a decade ago, that was the place to be, fracking the oil out of the ground there. They had labor shortages, and a bunch of people were moving up there because it was just after the 08-09 recession. Well, what's happened to that place since then?
There's been less. I mean, there's less activity. I'm not a Bakken expert, but there's just there's been a lot of other. Kyle, I'm trying to get you up here. By the way, I keep trying to add you a speaker. It says error.
So they have a limit. I think it's only the host plus 10 people.
There it is. Who wants to get kicked off as a speaker? Anybody raise your hand with an emoji. Some of y'all haven't talked. Okay, there you go. I'm the person that raised their hand. I'm going to remove from speakers. Okay, Kyle, you're coming up. But back to the Bakken question. I mean, it's just like it ebbs and flows. Yeah. All these plays have like their heyday where they rise up and they have rigs come in, and then you've got kind of this hype around it. And it happened not just in the Bakken, but in a bunch of plays, Barnett, the Fayetteville, Oklahoma, all this stuff. Go ahead.
The Bakken's like
is there any difference in the dollar figure?
Right? The Bakken's like the most productive and economical play that in the lower 48. Whenever
right, and it still produces over 1 million barrels a month.
Yeah, I mean now they're
a day.
The piss out of it, right? And there's a lot of declines from the parent to the child. But like, let's not like pretend that it's like Tuscaloosa Marine Shale or something. Come on.
No, yeah, it's probably like DRV says, probably the number 1 or 2, definitely economically, but. I mean, obviously, when they're having to ship the crude by rail, that makes it more expensive. So that's one thing that's changed from back in the day they didn't have a pipeline either, but that was one thing that could have possibly changed that for the better. But like Sled said, there isn't a ton of runway and inventory there, but there will be oil and gas production in a significant amount for the next 20 to 30 years, if not way longer.
Well, since the spot price is in the 80s now, is that good for the Bakken? I mean, I have heard that it costs like $60 to pull oil out of the ground there. Is it still that same price range?
The price going up benefits anyone that produces oil or has anything to do with it, in my opinion. Unless you like trade it and you're short.
I'm going to step out of the speaker. Y'all need to put Don up because Don will school y'all up. I'm out. So
Don can definitely school me, bro.
For a second. Max, put me down.
Just I'm speaking broadly.
I mean, I wasn't trying to say the Bakken was dead, y'all. I'm just saying that, like, there's been other plays that rise and fall. These plays ebb and flow. The Permian obviously is like where it's not just like what the economics are in the well. It's like who's there, who has the positions, how capitalized are they, what are the differentials, like how's the crude moving, like back to your point, like what are the differentials. There's a lot of factors, inventory, parent child, like Sled said it, but yeah, no, I'm sure that like the Bakken's been a play that I haven't worked as much as others, but again, I'm not saying it's dead. It's still there. Everything's going to come back if oil goes to $100. Like there's going to be activity. Yeah. It's not going to be what it was, mainly because of the capital, but activity is gonna come back.
Yeah, but so to wrap up what I would just try to make my point in like a couple sentences. He said, what has happened since like 08, 09, I think was the question. And so my thought is obviously there's less of a boom, a lot less activity, but there's steady oil and gas production and will be for the foreseeable future.
Okay.
I mean, I think Dakota Access obviously scared some people away there too, as far as capital and investment goes. That was always sort of a big overhang there.
I would agree with that as well. I've never really worked it, so again, I was just speaking broadly from his question, is like what was it and what will it be and what is it now. So y'all can take it from there. Let's hear Dom.
I try to get him up here. Is he up here?
Yeah.
I don't know if he wants to. I thought I invited him as a speaker. All I can do is invite you, but you have to accept.
Maybe if we were talking about Aggie football. Dom.
So what's the whole I just joined. What's the combo been based around so far?
It's been pretty random. We can touch
probably Bitcoin if you're involved, right?
No, like for 2 seconds because Sled asked me. We talked about my high school wrestling career. We talked about De La Rosa getting hit with H2S today. We talked about inflation. We talked about supply chain constraints. We're covering quite a bit, but really just whatever. I mean, it's just kind of like I want to do more. I want to do more oil and gas spaces. I want to do like every Wednesday. Probably have some like whatever guests, kind of make it more official. Like have someone up here and have them on. I think like next week, like Nimble Fatty's going to get on. I tried to get him. He might come on tonight. He had dinner. He's going to get done at 10. But just like random guests, get him on and maybe make podcast episodes out of him, or just kind of like just do it and community build. But yeah, it's been pretty all over the place, but good.
Dude, I like it. Why? I don't have a ton of time to talk, but I'm going to listen to all that somewhere.
You're cutting out.
Yeah, dude, KP, you're cutting out. What else we got? Who wants to talk? Who wants up? Y'all better keep it going or I'm going to shut it down.
I'll throw a little Bitcoin
That's what I'm saying.
Okay. All right, what do you got?
Make Dom a speaker and cut me out. That's what I'm saying.
All right. I tried to make him a speaker. If you didn't want to come up, that's cool, man. You can hit me with an emoji. Give me with like the thumbs down emoji or something. What's the Bitcoin question you got?
Just curious, as when you design, I don't know, when you roll out to one customer, what is your maintenance
and replacement budget in terms of percentage? Being, obviously as the hash requirements go up, the productivity of the existing miners you have there go down. How is that all? How do you calculate that out?
Well, I mean, the hash rate's going to get more difficult in terms of like replacement and maintenance. I mean, the hope is that these things stay in operation for a number of years. And by these things, I mean the ASICs. If you're buying like an older used machine, like an S9, like it's kind of a crapshoot. I mean, it's probably been who knows where, and so hopefully the person that you're buying it from has maybe like refurbished it or at least like make sure that it worked. But I would definitely factor in 10, 15% minimum kind of like replacement costs for some of those machines for the life of your project. And the life of the project is probably only going to be 3 years-ish, realistically, with the older machines, because you just don't know what's going to happen after the next halving, whether they're going to have any productivity left to them. But for the newer machines, you hope that they can last for a number of years. Hopefully, they don't go bad. I've heard better things about the What's miners versus the S19s in terms of resiliency and firmware updates that can kind of toggle some of the specs on them. But yeah, it's a pretty technical question, but I think we usually factor in like 10% on maintenance and replacement, which is probably conservative if you're using newer machines. But for the older ones, I think it's a good assumption. What else we got? We got some Dom. You came up. What's going on?
I don't know what I was supposed to talk about.
Bakken? I think we brought up Bakken. Are you a Bakken? You got experience there or what?
I'm not a Bakken.
Why
I'm a strictly Howard County Permian guy. That's about it.
Okay. Sledge, you're back.
Why isn't Dom talking? Dom, talk.
I'm here.
Thank you, fucking God, Jesus Christ. Can we finally talk about Aggie football?
How about the Maggies?
Dom, that's your cue.
Big dubs.
Dom, talk about, like, you're screaming about Jesus Christ. Get into the engineering stuff. Explain why the Bakken is Titty City and why the rest of this shit sucks. Okay? Go on.
Why the Bakken is Titty City, dear God.
Go Iron, Grandmama. Get out of here.
The fact that you have reproduced concerns me for the rest of civilization, Sleds.
I mean, it's all reservoir pressure, right? Permian's just a lot lower. You're depleting from one massive layer cake that may or may not be overstated in how much oil it has. Bakken has a lot higher reservoir pressure, wells flow, which is going to decrease how much it costs to make oil initially. I don't know. I'm not aware of why those operating costs someone quoted are a lot higher now, other than maybe your net backs are worse and they're factored in somewhere in that. But I mean, to me, it would make sense that the Bakken would still be kind of on par with Permian operating costs, maybe even a little lower.
Do we know what the transport differences are between the two? Obviously, Bakken's got to be a lot more expensive than that. Then.
Oh, Permian's barely anything right now.
Bakken's a little worse, but it's not terrible because of the slowdown. I mean, like, everything got better with COVID, like in terms of transport, because like just less barrels, less congestion. Yeah. What else? KP, you're trying to get back up here now. Add a speaker. Can I do it? Okay, now you're on. You didn't want to be on. Now you're back. Or not. Maybe he's not. I had some good people in this room. Like 40, 50 people in here for a minute. It's kind of died down as we've lost some steam, but this is not bad.
I got voted to get up on, like 10 people quit.
Yeah, dude. No worries.
It's my face up here.
It's good.
Hey,
It's
Dom,
good, dude.
I have a question for Dom since he's an engineer. Just to get back on the oil and gas stuff, and this is just out of pure curiosity. Say that, or honestly, any of you that have experience, even sleds can hop in. Say that you were given like X amount of money to like go start a company. Right now, what would you do? Would you go like a vertical route? Would you go horizontal? Like pick your favorite county. If you could like make a play, what would you do?
I mean, you could have bought a lot of this stuff that people bought for $40K an acre at even half the price. People aren't having to downspace as much as they did. And you make a lot better wells. I mean, the Permian, people make fun of shale, but, you know, people make massive wells in the Permian. It just doesn't, you know, it doesn't move the needle as far as paying off those big acquisitions. So then people went in and did like the Dominator that Concho did to try to maximize that MPV. And
is that guy going to jail? What's he doing? How's he?
What?
Is he going to jail?
Who?
Homeboy who was like the guy that was just. He was the guy that was forcing them to drill 27 wells or however many it were in that one section, right?
I heard they never actually did any sort of oil in place calculation over there, and just kind of used analog wells, which you can justify a lot of things as an analog well.
That's what I'm saying. Is like I last I heard that they were claiming negligence, right? That he didn't do the work and was like, yeah, it's good. And they went and drilled however many fucking wells they drilled. And
I don't know about jail. I know they moved a lot of those guys around to kind of, you know, positions that don't mean much. But, no, I mean, you know, if you drill at the right spacing and you get the right acreage price, like these wells are massive. Like, you know, you can drill a 1 million barrel oil well. And I mean, Howard County, look at Howard County. People kind of discounted Howard County for a while. And there's plenty of 1 million to 1.2 million barrel oil wells, but they're just really widely spaced. I mean, some acreage people got for free out here, and you can drill whatever spacing you want. And
right, it's all about cost, right?
Yeah, it's all about what that acreage costs. So, you know, if acreage was free, I'd be out in the Permian drilling 15,000 foot horizontal wells at like 1,500 foot spacing. But
Max, are you doing anything in like southern Oklahoma? Those big ass gas wells that are being drilled that are like $25 million a piece.
No.
Yeah. Or you say, am I doing anything? I'm not doing anything personally. We got a client that's doing some stuff. We're helping with it.
You don't want any minerals or anything down there?
No, I'm not messing with minerals, but I'm helping like on the takeaway side. Like we're building like a little we're not building it. We're helping a client build a little gathering system for that stuff, but it's expensive.
Are they taking it in kind or what are they doing?
No, they're operating. So they're building.
So XTO? Is that your
I would say XTO.
What the fuck are you talking about?
It's not XTO.
I worked in Love County, like in the fucking courthouse for 2.5 years back in my rookie days. That's where I got my start.
It shows too.
I know, dude. Hey.
Hey, GW, you should become a landman.
I believe I would sooner stick my hand into an active blender than be what I was explained as a professional stalker for a living. Because an iron doesn't accomplish the same amount of damage, Sleds. That's why.
Depends on where you stick it.
Come on, guys.
Yeah, can confirm.
What do we got?
I feel like, get Sam up here, Max. I feel like he's probably got some good stuff. I've never met him, but his picture.
Yeah, he's probably the smartest one in this room.
Yeah, also, Davis, where are you at, bro? He's out there operating wells.
He was up here.
I was here early.
You're cutting out again.
Weather, and so, you know, I'm chilling now. Oh, see? Is that better
yes.
Nope.
We got like a Bitcoin person up here.
Okay, there we go. So I was
got
here earlier. I've
Go
been
ahead.
cutting out with the weather, so it's just gonna hit or miss. Oh, my
You
bad.
got all these engineers and operators, and no one's talking anything. Like, you guys don't want to hear about mineral deals, but that stuff down in Love County is pretty interesting. I don't know if they've picked up a second rig, but I've heard that that's about to happen. If not, XTO, and I mean, I've seen FEs down there like 17, 18, 19 million, and I might have seen one at like 20, but I can't recall for sure. But that's pretty crazy down there. So I'd imagine, like Max said, there has to be quite a bit of takeaway stuff happening, I would imagine.
It's just like they're deep wells, and then you got to drill. I mean, I don't know. They seem like really difficult wells to drill. And I'm not a geologist or a reservoir guy, but it's not just the AFE number. It's like you're looking at the technical side of it, and the very little that I know, I'm like, man, that is, it's a lot. You have a problem that deep in a well, you're in some serious cost overruns, like crazy ones.
Yeah, your swing, even if it's still 5 to 7%, is
huge,
multi-million dollars instead of hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, I think they're 14,500 foot, right? Deep, and then obviously the horizontal part. But yeah, I think the Woodford's like 14,000 foot down there.
So for anybody that doesn't know, that's like almost 3 miles deep under the ground. And then you're drilling out another, 2 miles, or what is it? They're 2 mile laterals?
Yeah, they're drilling 1280.
Yeah, so you're drilling like 5 miles into the earth. It's pretty crazy. And they cost what? What are these AFEs again?
17 to like 20 million is what I've seen. And I mean, like, we had entry into the Horseshoe Bend unit, which was one of the first ones. I think it was like 7 South 2 East. And it came on at over 3,000 barrels of oil. Hey, stop. And stayed there for like, I don't know, 30 days, maybe 25. And then even after 60, it was still making 2,000 barrels a day.
Yeah.
Was that on a pad or is it a single well?
I believe it's a single well. It was horizontal and a 1280, so I would assume. I've never been on fucking location, bro. I saw the mineral rights, but I would assume it's just a single well.
Who said Sam? What do you guys want to hear about? I'm a Rockies guy.
Dude, tell us everything, dude. I'm interested to hear about what you got going on up there. I'm sure.
You're in the DJ? Yeah, I'm in the DJ. You're going to have to hear my PSA about how bad things can happen if the political pendulum swings. I'll give you the 2-minute version.
I'll tell you what. I have one specific company there. I have a lot of interest in. I'm curious what your opinion is on.
So here's what happened in Colorado. The legislator got together and got on the Save the Planet bandwagon, and they removed essentially one item from the Oil and Gas Act. And the Oil and Gas Act, right, defines what the Oil and Gas Commission's mission is, and it was to foster oil and gas development and prevent waste, okay? And they got rid of foster development and prevent waste and replaced it with protect health, safety, environment, and wildlife resources. And here's the kicker: in a reasonable and necessary manner. However, they do not have to take into account technical feasibility or cost effectiveness. And what that has done is caused us to go through 2 years of rulemaking changes where the regulators no longer consider leaving hydrocarbons behind as waste. And the commission does not have to take into account technical feasibility or cost effectiveness when promulgating rules. It's been a unmitigated disaster.
I got a big sad face for that.
Big sad face.
Like on the permitting side, on the plugging side?
So I do both, right? I've got a fairly large stripper well portfolio out in goat pasture near Kansas and Nebraska.
and I haven't done a stripper well update for a while, but my increased regulatory costs on stripper wells in the middle of nowhere has been on the order of like, oh man, between $5 and $10 a barrel. And then on the new permitting side, there has not been a single new permit approved that was not previously submitted and in the queue prior to the rule changes. They've only been going through and approving permits that were in process when the rule changes happened. And they killed deal flow because they quit approving change of operators. So I bought some wells in January, a little water flood, and submitted the change of operator paperwork to the commission in February, and they haven't approved it yet. And that obviously could be hellacious for Noble. You know, Chevron just bought Noble. The commission hasn't approved that change of operator yet. Oxy, who just bought Anadarko, not recognized by the commission, right? Civitas, who just mashed together Extraction and all those other little companies. It's wild up here, guys.
So when you walk into this water flood that's basically been operated by, would you say nobody, or those guys are still operating it kind of in good faith?
So here's what we do, because we're also drilling new horizontal wells for guys, is you do an indemnification agreement, right? You do a JOA, and then on top of that, you do an indemnification agreement, and then you get that current operator who's on the books at the state to make you a designated agent, and you file all your reports essentially under their credentials. But it basically kills deal flow, right? Because if you screw up, they can say, sure, the assignments have been recorded in the courtroom. Sure, we have an indemnification agreement. But if I screw up and I go bankrupt, the commission still can go back on them. It's wild.
It's nuts.
Mm-hmm.
At least y'all kind of found a workaround. I'm thinking, water flood, no technical operator for a while. That can go south pretty easily.
So there's a world-class water flood south of Fort Morgan, Colorado. It's called the Adena Field. There's two world-class water floods in Colorado. One is the Rangeley Field on the western slope. Who has that? Chevron. And then there's the Adena Field that was operated by a little company out of Texas. And they got behind on their MITs and their well maintenance and got bit by the pandemic. And the commission just completely revoked their operator license without what I would consider to be due process. And so it's starting to play out where the commission's saying, hey, guess what, guys? We're just going to yoink your operating license. And there's a world-class water flood that is just in limbo.
Yeah, that's a little scary.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty wild. And it will spread.
Sam, when did that go through, before or after the Civitas smash up?
So, it was before. It was Senate Bill 19-181. It was in 2019. It was the first big regulatory priority of Governor Polis. And it sort of caused promulgation of a bunch of rules. And first we did the ones around health, safety, and environment. Hey, buddy. You going to bed? Here, I'll give you a hug. And then go to mommy. And then one of the last rulemakings was bonding, financial assurance, and asset transfers. So everybody sort of spent the last couple of years trying to get their deals done. And the commission started dragging their feet on approving change of operators right around the time when the Civitas deal happened.
Okay, that's one that I was really interested in, to be honest with you. Those producers getting together.
Dude, it's actually, I was on the phone with Koga and API because I started a trade for stripper well operators,
And this could be a death blow to them. They're finally ready to fight. Because Wild Earth Guardians introduced a motion last week to prevent any change of operators from being approved until after the financial assurance rulemaking. And that is literally a death blow to Civitas and the Oxy Anadarko assets and the Chevron Noble assets. And so, like, industry is finally gearing up and ready to fight back. They've been very slow to react.
That's interesting. It makes me a little more worried than I was before, to be honest.
You should be very worried.
So
with that position, like, Oxy buying Anadarko, Chevron buying Noble, is that really an operator problem? Because it's one operator buying another versus one operator buying assets from another operator? I mean, does there even need to be an operator change? Between like Oxy and Anadarko?
Anadarko?
Yeah, go ahead.
If you truly treat it as selling the entire corporation and you're not going to file a change of operator, no, you're correct. And so, yes, Oxy and Chevron could change course and say, we're just going to keep the old companies around as a wholly owned subsidiary and keep operating under that name. Now, Civitas cannot do that, right? Those companies that are getting mashed together are being dissolved. I mean, I suppose they could, but man, that's out of my, like, I'm a stripper well guy. Can Oxy really go back and say, hey, actually, we're going to keep the Anadarko name? I don't know. You guys probably know better than that.
And you may, this is a different question.
Yes, they can. Yeah, they are in Texas for sure. Wells are being permitted and drilled as Anadarko right now.
Good.
Question for you, Sammy, and you may not even know this area, Colorado. What do you think of the Samson Continental, like, ordeal up there? Is that pretty solid, or what's your thoughts? I don't even know where that's at in comparison to you.
I think that's northern DJ, dude. I think that's state line. That's like Colorado, Wyoming, and it's good Codell ground. And there's still two Samsons up there on the Wyoming side permitting wells, and one of them has a rig running right now. The Continental area got a little far south out of the thermal maturity window. But the state line plays good, and then there's like a no man's land between, like 8 North and the state line. And then there's, Red Tail Field where like Whiting was and stuff, where you're back in thermal maturity.
But they're like, I don't know, but I just heard they're like getting after it pretty active up there.
I just pulled it today, dude. There's one rig active on the Wyoming side of the state line play. And I can't remember if it's Samson Exploration, or I don't know if it's the Schusterman Samson or the Australian Samson or what. I can't keep them straight. So there's only one rig up there. And then down in like the old Red Tail, Whiting, Carrizo area, we just drilled one well, and I think Bison has a rig, but I don't think the Mallard guys are doing anything. That area is pretty slow, man.
So you said that you guys just drilled a well?
Yeah, we did.
How did you guys, like, with the whole permit freeze and like the whole bullshit in Colorado, how did you guys pull that off?
They were a set of permits that were submitted prior to the rule change. And so they were in the queue prior to the rule changes and were able to get approved.
Could you, like, if you buy an operator, like, I guess you can just take the permits that they currently have as well?
Well, that's the predicament we're in, right? Because the guys who permitted it were prospectors. And then the guys who bought the DSUs were investors out of Texas who don't operate. And they pulled us in to operate. And that's where we had to do a JOA with the new owners, an indemnity agreement with the prospectors who got it permitted, and we're operating as designated agents. It's really weird.
Yo, I'm gonna bounce.
Yeah,
Who wants to be host?
fun.
Who can I make like a couple hosts? Because I got to bounce here in a second. But it's been fun, guys. If anyone wants to keep, I can make them the host. They can keep it going. But I'm probably gonna bounce.
Make Sledge the host.
Sledge, dude. Sledge. Chaos, man. I'm gonna invite you to co-host. We'll just go straight. All right, man. This has been fun. I think he is now a co-host. I think if I leave, it will stay. Appreciate it, everybody. No, though, it's been good. I'm gonna do it every Wednesday, and we're gonna do. I'll have like more structure next time. I just wanted to get it. I just want to make it happen this week. But we're gonna do it again.
Awesome.
Yeah, we get it. Okay. Welcome to the Thunderdome, bitches.
Welcome, bitches. All right, see ya.
That's right.